Welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University. School of Education, SOA. Bachelor of Arts, BAG. Education. Semester 6. Base 142 Lifelong Learning. Block 1 Lifelong Learning. What, when, where and how? Unit 3 Places and Societies of Lifelong Learning. 3.1 Introduction. In the 21st century, the concept of learning throughout life, i.e. lifelong learning, has become increasingly popular in the literature, though as a social practice. It is as old as human culture and civilization. Having read about the concept and scope of lifelong learning in Unit 1, you might have well understood that lifelong learning goes beyond the confines of institutionalized education. From Unit 2, you might have understood the panoramic picture of wide variety of participants of lifelong learning, which includes teachers and students in all systems of education, formal, non-formal and informal, and adults and adult educators of all types in all contexts of life. In other words, the diverse categories of lifelong learners include all individuals learning individually, or in groups, or as members of particular communities and societies in different contexts and places of their living and working. You are aware that learning can take place at any place and at any time, provided there is an activity or opportunity existing for learning. In other words, lifelong learning encompasses all the opportunities and possibilities that any learning environment offers. However, it is important to say that learning is individual centric and the learning potential varies from individual to individual or from learner to learner. For example, compared to illiterates, literates possess more potential to learn and they get relatively more opportunities for learning and accordingly from explicit written experiences of others, existing in the form of abundant literature. In this context, it is apt to agree with Paulo Freire that the potential of literacy lies not only in reading the word but also reading the world. Freire and Macedo, 1987. Such literacy emphasizes a pedagogy intended to allow participants to understand their society fully. It is linked to the role that democratic citizenship and education together plays in supporting people's participation in lifelong and life-wide aspects. This unit presents a discourse about the places and societies of lifelong learning. When lifelong learning is treated as life-wide process as well, it recognizes that learning takes place in many different settings. The settings may include a small community or a vast society, depending upon the place, which may be a small place, a city, a region, or the entire globe. In other words, in this unit, we will focus on the social and geographical settings where learning activities or opportunities are more predominant and purposeful. These settings will enhance your understanding of the types of learning places and societies such as information societies, knowledge societies and industrial societies. 3.2 Objectives. After going through this unit, you should be able to explain how and when all places are considered as learning places. Describe how communities, societies become learning communities. Societies. Examine how all places and societies lead to lifelong learning among individuals. Develop an understanding about the relationship between learning individuals, learning places and learning societies. Distinguish information societies, knowledge societies and industrial societies, and elaborate as to how learning societies help in enhancing lifelong learning and productivity among adults. 3.3 Learning places. Can you think of places which have not provided opportunities for learning or those which do not provide any opportunity for learning at all? Try to make a list of a few such places and then reflect upon the same as to whether these places really do not provide any learning opportunities at all for any individual or for a particular community. Also think of places where there are always opportunities for learning. As stated in Indian Education Commission, 1964-66. Education cannot be confined to schooling but is a lifelong process, reiterates the fact that the adults continue to learn for their effective participation in social and political life. This widens the context of education from schools and colleges to different places and societies. You know that learning can happen at any time and at any place, subject to being there an opportunity or activity for learning. But education implies both teaching and learning with assessment, whereas learning is not dependent upon teaching or assessment, as it can occur independent of all these. In this section, we will focus on the concept, nature and types of learning places, so that you will have clarity about diverse learning places. 3.3.1 Concept of learning places. A learning place or space refers to a physical or virtual setting forming a part of learning environment. It may be an indoor, home, or outdoor location, actual or virtual space. In other words, the learning places may also be planned or unplanned, organized or unorganized, natural or contrived. It is a place or space at which learning takes place in the individuals, irrespective of whether there is a teaching happening or not. It means any individual getting exposed to a learning place is expected to get opportunities for learning. Remember, even while sitting in isolation, but seriously involved in reflecting on existing knowledge, specific problems and experiences, one's active mind itself will act as an effective learning place or space, as it is facilitating intrapersonal interaction. For example, a philosopher's thinking activity while sitting on an easy chair is a learning activity. It means, learning place can thus be purely physical, actual, social, contextual, psychological, mental, or virtual, contrived. Let us discuss the term, place, perceived in the form of situated learning. As per Lev, 1988, the idea of learning changes from psychological limits of human mind to the living conditions of human and cultural interaction in situated learning. Thus, learning is considered as a recurring process in which the individuals act and interact within their social contexts. When we perceived learning is a process that occurs in social context, all places are largely pedagogical. Here, the term place implies communities, regions, cities, and societies. For example, individuals learn basic mathematical skills in real contexts such as street markets, grocery shops, etc., irrespective of one's literacy or numeracy skills. The nature of interaction in the social contexts shapes their understanding of concepts. Therefore, every place which provides for individuals' interaction within its given space or environment can be considered as a learning place. Moreover, a place also teaches us how to fit ourselves into the spaces we occupy and also how to allow spaces for others to fit themselves as well. Let us try to understand how an understanding of a place as a whole, or one's space in a particular place, forms an effective learning place, leading to understanding oneself as a part of that place in a right perspective. To begin with, every individual should know the role, mini place or space, of himself, herself in a given place, home, community, society or world, which is considered as a learning place. Then, the concept of place is like a concentric ring model consisting of one's home at the center, and then the community, the larger society, and finally the world as a whole. Not only learning experiences but also identity relations among people and all activities happen within the whole gamut of social practices and changes thereof. One's identities and possibilities are also shaped within a particular place having particular attributes. For instance, read the following case in Box 3.1. Box 3.1. Dayabai, originally known as Mercy Matthew, left her original hometown from Pala in Kerala and came finally to Madhya Pradesh to work among the tribal population. In order to get acceptance from the forest dwellers and villagers in Madhya Pradesh, she identified herself with the tribal people. She dressed like a tribal woman and followed their food habits as well. She had been associated with Narmada Bachao Andolan and the Chengar agitations. In order to eradicate poverty, she started the Swayam Sahayata group in the late 1990s. She also taught organic farming to the villages of Barul, Maharashtra. The above case reflects that as occupants of particular places, Dayabai shaped her own identity and possibility. According to Dayabai, learning and development is place-specific. Her knowledge about the tribal system helped her work in close relationship between nature and humanity. Here, we can understand that place played significant role in shaping or producing identity of Dayabai. For her, tribal area is a place for having experiential learning. From her place-specific learning experiences, she molded her identity in cognizance and harmony with the tribal people. You know that we all learn a lot from the places where we inhabited at different times. We learn the social practices and norms from the community we resided with, whether for shorter or longer duration or permanently. Thus, place also refers to the shared location, environment, and experience as important elements, which help us in learning about how we organize, manage, and govern ourselves, our community, and the natural environment in the larger global context. Similarly, you can think of virtual place where all the participants come together to discuss various issues in a shared platform, a virtual or digital place, and try to resolve the issues. In the light of the above discussion, let us try to understand the nature of learning place from the point of view of its dimensions cum features. 3.3.2 Nature and dimensions of a learning place. From diverse literature, it can be observed that there are 6 major dimensions of place which deserve special mention in this context. These are the following. I. Place is land-based. E. Place is local or spatial. E. Place is relationship-based. IV. Place is experiential. V. Place is multidimensional. V. Place is technology-centered or technology-based or virtual. I. Place is land-based. The sense of place is attached to the land. When we look at indigenous cultures, land is the major aspect of group identity. Though India is a land of diversities, there exists a sense of unity because people inhabit in the same land of geographical identity. E. Place is local or spatial. Locality is central in understanding a place. Learning becomes localized when the curriculum is shaped according to the lived contexts of learners. Adults, historically, interacted with the places where they lived and developed an identity of their own. E. Place is relationship-based. There is an emotional bond between place and person. When we look at indigenous cultures, there we can see the affinity of indigenous people and the place they occupy. For the tribal people, the tribal area is the place where they develop a strong bond. Place creates a familiarity with the persons and entity of the world. IV. Place is experiential. It is the experiences that a person had, which gives meaning to the place. From the above case, see box 3.1, you might have understood how place provided experiential learning to Dayabai in developing organic farming practices among the villages of Barul. Learning indigenous knowledge is experiential in nature, which is based on the context and sense of place. Place is multidimensional. More than a geographical area, place includes both physical and emotional characteristics. We know that in a place there will be interaction between the inhabitants and the location. For example, in an online library system, there are different types of users ranging from individuals to organizations. While considering online library system as a place, there is multi-dimensional users mental space and the multi-dimensional resource space. This library is a place for individuals to gain knowledge as lifelong learners. Place is technology-centered or technology-based or virtual. When latest technologies make the participants meet on a particular tech platform with set norms for their conduct as a social group, it becomes a virtual place for learning. During their interactions, the above 6 major dimensions are relevant when we consider all places as learning places. from cradle to grave. During COVID-19 pandemic situation, we all witnessed that a vast amount of time was spent on online platforms which became new and emerging places for lifelong learning. Such online platforms advocate a holistic view of lifelong learning. The lifelong learning platforms proclaim that education and training are not meant just for employability but also serve as a place for personal development. Online platforms create a space for dialogue between civil society and public authorities as well as to exchange and promote innovative practices. The idea behind such practices is to increase access to quality education for all by ensuring equity, equality and active citizenship. Having understood the nature and dimensions of a learning place, let us now attempt to know about learning cities and learning regions, which are evolving as new operational and pragmatic approaches in the context of lifelong learning. 3.3.3 Learning cities. You might have read in newspapers about a panchayat in Kerala being declared as the first A-literate panchayat in India, as a result of introducing A-literacy fully. In Palikal Panchayat. Palikal is a village in Tiruvananthapuram district in The state of Kerala. https://n. Wikipedia. Org. Wiki. Palikal. How does a particular place, village, city or region become popular than other places? What makes Palikal different from other regions? Why do other regions fail to achieve the same position as Palikal Panchayat? These are some of the questions that draw our attention while reading such news in various media. This is where the learning cities, regions and societies assume great relevance. Before delving on the reasons for how a place becomes a learning city, let us discuss the evolution of this concept. The term learning city is a new and evolving notion which emerged in the later years of the 20th century. There is no standard definition of a learning city. The term is mainly used in policy arenas and among community of practitioners while dealing with execution of things in a better way. It is used in different senses depending upon the context. However, the word learning is related to education, and it has more to do with governance and politics as well. According to Commission of the European Union, 2001, a learning city goes beyond its statutory duty to provide education and training, and instead creates a vibrant, participative, culturally aware and economically buoyant human environment through the provision, justification and active promotion of learning opportunities to enhance the potential of all of its citizens. A learning city is defined by UNESCO, 2015, in the following way, see Box 3.2. Box 3.2, a learning city. UNESCO defines a learning city as a city that mobilizes its resources effectively in every sector to promote inclusive learning from basic to higher education, revitalizes learning in families and communities, facilitates learning for and in the workplace, extends the use of modern learning technologies, enhances quality and excellence in learning, and fosters a culture of learning throughout life. In doing so, the city enhances individual empowerment and social inclusion, economic development, cultural prosperity, and sustainable development. Source: https://uil.unesco.org/lifelong-learning/learning-cities. From the above, we can understand that, basically there are two clear-cut meanings to the concept of learning city. Firstly, the term implies wide accessibility to education and training that leads to civic success. Learning, however, is broader than education. It is the process whereby individuals transform their experiences into knowledge, skills, attitudes, emotions, senses, etc. Historically and culturally, learning has been a lifelong process. Learning city is concerned with enhancing the quality of education, training and opportunities of learning to individuals in the city as a whole. For this, formal education is not enough. Educational endeavors encompass non-formal and informal learning and more to foster a culture of lifelong learning. It is true that civic learning environment includes museums, libraries, and arts and cultural facilities. Moreover, workplace learning is also recognized as an important place of education and training relevant to living and working. Secondly, learning city connotes the capacity of a city itself to learn in similar way as an individual person or other organism can learn and adapt its behavior. For example, the organizational behavior influences the behavior of individuals as well as the management. Besides schools and universities, learning is extended to hospitals, banks, and even to events such as Akshaya A centers, festivals, etc. When we think in terms of geographical and political sense, learning is extended from the cities to a small village in a remotest area. 3.3.4 Learning regions. You are aware that in the age of globalization and knowledge-based capitalism, regions are becoming the central point for constructing knowledge and learning. There are three approaches related to the origin of the term, learning regions. According to the first approach, learning regions was introduced in the mid-1990s by the economic geographers. This term was used to stress the role played by collective learning in various networks and clusters at regional level, with the intention to enhance the innovativeness and competitiveness of firms and regions. In the second approach, the idea of learning region was related to learning economy. Innovation is seen as an interactive learning process in a learning economy. In such economy, knowledge is the basic resource and learning is an important process. According to the third approach, learning regions are considered as regionally based development coalitions. The term learning region is used as a way of thinking about the management of a region with an evident identity, boundaries, and some form of government. As the name implies, learning regions serve as repositories of knowledge and create an environment for the flow of knowledge, ideas, and learning. These learning regions become the sources of innovation, economic growth, and technological organization on a global scale. Read the following case in Box 3.3. Box 3.3. Silicon Valley is a region in the southern part of the San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California that serves as a global center for high technology and innovation. The word silicon in the name originally referred to the large number of innovators and manufacturers in the region, specializing in silicon-based MOS transistors and integrated circuit chips. Source: https en.wikipedia.org/wiki/silicon_valley. From the above case, you might have realized that social networks across firms are critical for learning and innovation in a region. It is not simply providing information but of the shared practices by these social networks that gives meaning to the shared information and also applying it in real fields. In the case of Silicon Valley, the shared practices are not confined to a single workplace, but it is extended widely to the technical community in a region. We can appreciate that technological learning leads to immediate social interaction with other regions. The main function of Learning City is to address the learning needs of a locality through partnerships. It enables changes in the economic development of a particular region. You will now learn about how different communities to form learning communities. 3.4 Learning communities. We know that lifelong learning is individual-centered in nature while a community is a location-specific integrated functional system. A community can be defined as a multi-generational group of human beings who are engaged in work or play and whose identities are shaped by the roles they play in the relationships they have in group activity. A community is multi-generational in the sense that it consists of individuals having different ages. It has a shared culture of daily life constructed on routines, behavioral norms, and rules. Learning communities are broader in context, which draw upon elements of different systems to facilitate or promote lifelong learning among its members. For example, even within a community in a specific locality, there may be an overlap of different types of communities engaged in a variety of learning. However, there will always be a common cultural core of continuous reflection and change for further learning within and across all sections of a community. This forms source of inspiration for becoming a learning community, which will facilitate, encourage or promote lifelong learning among its individual members or their groups, who perform different tasks, or whose practices are different and whose knowledge base is different. Thus, all of them form smaller learning communities, even within a local area-based community, let alone different communities in different geographical areas. However, it is the culture of learning communities which helps in facilitating organizational efforts that can aggregate different forms of smaller learning communities into a larger structure, a learning community, in a broad overarching sense. Sometimes we may say that we are community learners in the sense that we are learning from others in the locality all the time. It is true that when we view learning in a social perspective, learning happens in a social context. The social context may be a small place like a village, a mohalla in a city, or a wider community in a very large geographical area or a big region. In this section, when we refer to social context, community is at the center where learning is the goal. Therefore, we will focus our discussion on the concept of community in general and communities of practice in particular. 3.4.1 Interpretation of learning communities. Learning communities are interpreted in various ways. Firstly, it may be seen as an extension of pragmatic education. Pragmatically, we focus on actions of human beings. The advocates of pragmatism, Charles Sanders Peirce, 1839. 1914, William James, 1842-1910, and John Dewey, 1859-1952, emphasize on learning by doing. Learning community is thus pragmatic in nature when we consider the role of adults and institutions as promoters of interactive learning, which is essential for a learning community. In this context, the action taken by any community to bring the downtrodden into the mainstream through employment and further education connotes the pragmatic view. From the above case, you can understand how Dayabai worked for the upliftment of tribal people in Madhya Pradesh. Secondly, learning communities may be an additive to civil society where learning is focused on citizenship and participative training. In this context, a citizen is expected to participate in a society in such a manner to make her own contribution towards public good. Their voices should be heard on a regular basis instead of during election time. More than casting a vote, citizens are supposed to participate in the decision-making process encouraged by public agencies. Thirdly, learning communities can be viewed as part of community development where the powerless are empowered to address their daily and educational needs. Fourthly, the term learning community is used mainly with a sense of geographical locality. During the pandemic situation of COVID-19, learning community across the globe, cutting across geographical boundaries, came together as a virtual community for disseminating and sharing knowledge, information and ideas about containing it in an effective manner. Currently, different social media platforms present innumerable, diverse communities which are all examples of COPs, the virtual learning communities. 3.4.2 Communities of Practice, COPs. A community reality is based on various theoretical, developmental, cultural, and global viewpoints. Theoretically, while describing communities of practice, COP, it is perceived as the joining of two concepts, i.e. practice and community. Wenger, McDermott, and Snyder, 2002, p.4, translate COP as groups of people who share a concern, a set of problems, or a passion about a topic, and who deepen their knowledge and expertise. The concept of social practice refers to doing something meaningfully within a historical and social context, such as working for the upliftment of the downtrodden, observing religious rites, and so on. The argument behind the concept COP is that basically the members learn through their engagement in social practice. This involvement is in the form of participation in informal communities as the members pursue social practices over time. It implies an active participation in the practices of social communities and thereby constructing their own identities acceptable to these communities. Participation in COP is essential for sense-making and identity formation. Through their participation, members create meaning out of the diversified information and knowledge they are exposed to. They also share similar work practices and knowledge built across firm networks of practice. Such networks, COPs, lead to fast sharing of information related to their works. Learning takes place through informal interaction among individuals in work place. Developmentally, when individuals connect with others, expansion in learning happens. Learning is considered as a social activity where one is engaged in dialogic learning. It is impossible to link development occurring in an isolated state. Here, the emphasis is upon constructive engagement with otherness, as proposed by Dalloz, 2000. Constructive engagement is a contributor to social responsibility that leads to empathic connection. Due to such engagement, individuals move from dependence to independence and then to interdependence. Culturally, we are moving from dominant culture to a multicultural perspective. In multicultural perspective, we have to emphasize the wholeness understood through community, connection, and responsibility. Learning becomes purposeful when there is a community goal that reiterates interdependence, interconnectedness, and harmony. Learning to live together, one of the pillars of education. Described in the report entitled, Learning, the Treasure Within, of the International Commission of Education, is the basis of community life. Globally, the world community is shrinking and is guided by principles such as interdependence, recycling, partnership, flexibility, and diversity. Interdependence is used in the sense that success of the whole community is related to individual success. Recycling means waste from one community may become useful to another community. Efficient recycling programs generate opportunities for the community to increase their finance that can be utilized in the same community in the form of public parks, public library, etc. Partnership enhances the degree of openness, understanding, and engagement among different people. Flexibility means an understanding of various perspectives and approaches that lead to change to find stability. Diversity calls for different approaches while dealing with a problem. Diverse communities provide opportunity to people belonging to varied races, cultures, and creeds to mingle together and increase their self-identities. All these principles get strengthened or assume greater significance when COPs at different levels work effectively. 3.5 Learning Societies. The concept, learning society, was first developed by Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and UNESCO as an educational philosophy that recognizes the role played by education in the development of a nation. Education is not confined to a particular age, either of an individual or of a society. The word, learning society, consists of two words, i.e., learning, and society. Learning is the process whereby individuals transform their knowledge into skills, attitudes, emotions, beliefs, values, etc., which is lifelong and life-wide in its application. The basis of lifelong learning is the existence of a learning society, which is capable of facilitating lifelong learning among its members. Learning societies enable individuals to learn throughout their life and also permit individuals to reciprocate to the large society in the form of wisdom, which can be termed as koinasofak or wise society. The interrelationship between lifelong learning and learning society is such that both of them support each other on everlasting basis. Due to the changing nature of society, where there are varied cultures and the primacy is on use of technologies, the learning of its members has to be revisited. You know that the societies in the 21st century are compelled to learn ICT skills, and in an unprecedented manner in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. However, there exists a gap between and among different sections of the society in terms of the skills possessed and required by them so as to be or to become the effective participants of lifelong learning. One way of reducing this gap is through promotion of lifelong learning skills among all sections of the society. Workforce must either gear up to the changing environment or be prepared to work in an unpredictable environment. This shows that adult trainers and trainees in all contexts need to involve in more learning situations, and this can be achieved only through lifelong learning. Through lifelong learning, all adults of learning societies will acquire the skills and capacities that enable them not only to survive in the present learning society but also to contribute to its sustainable growth and development. As a corollary of the influence of lifelong learning upon learning societies, the statement given by UNESCO, 2005, is worth to mention here. With regard to lifelong education, it is now a matter of common knowledge that this is the concept which explains the real meaning of modern education and which should inspire and sum up all efforts directed towards reform. Education is no longer confined to a particular age, that is, only a part of life, coexistent. Throughout its length, it represents an attitude and a dimension of life. It is an attitude enabling us to keep in touch with realities and not simply a preparation for work and responsibilities. Thus, learning societies enable its members to learn throughout their lifespan. Three major factors that necessitate individuals to continue with their learning are I. Emergence of information society, E. Advancement of science and technology, and E. Internationalization of economy. These are treated as contributing factors to the development of the learning society. A learning society is a combination of diverse learning environments such as formal, informal, and non-formal environments. As we know, formal learning environment consists of schools, colleges, universities etc. Non-formal learning includes various structured learning situations which do not either have the level of curriculum, syllabus, accreditation and certification as associated with formal learning. Informal learning typically happens naturally and can associate with self-learning by using variety of materials and resources such as printed material, audios and videos, online and offline computer-based sources, materials, among other things. With the introduction of ICT, learning society has transformed the learning processes of the participants in the lifelong learning in the following ways. Transformed formal, non-formal and informal learning by reducing the practical distinctions among them. Paced up development of lifelong learning systems by providing technical capabilities. Synergized the potential and the competencies through enhanced collaborations, network, problem solving, etc., which is essential for a learning society. Ensured equal access to all in the learning society. Contributed to e-learning content in varied sources, and caused development of vast e-learning tools to support e-learning activities needed for lifelong learning. The learning society thus consists of diverse clientele promoting and/or pursuing different learning environments. Hence, the learning resources are required to meet the following features. The learning resources should be structured at multiple levels catering to the needs of various groups or sections of learning societies. These resources should cater to the diversified individual learning needs, personal development to joyful learning of all the participants. These resources should be supplied by various learning providers, and these resources should be delivered in different formats and forms. These learning environments and resources also vary depending upon different types of learning societies. Learning societies include industrial societies, information societies and knowledge societies. We are now living in an information society. There are ample opportunities for all of us to acquire knowledge, skills, and abilities through different learning systems. We are experiencing the transformations occurring in our society as a result of introduction of artificial intelligence and information and communication technologies, ICTs. Are we entering into a new stage of industrial society? The changes are quite evident in different learning societies such as industrial societies, information societies, and knowledge societies. Let us elaborate each of these learning societies in detail. 3.5.1 Industrial societies. Industrial society is considered as an evolution of human society. Every society consists of people having common culture and common purpose and also shows interdependence of different sections of societies. Societies can be generally classified along a spectrum of their level of industrialization, from pre-industrial to post-industrial societies. Figure 3.2 shows the classification of society. Figure 3.2 Classification of society from pre-industrial to post-industrial. Look at the screen. As all of us know, the earliest society is tribal society. Tribal societies are small in scale and are restricted in the spatial and temporal range of their social, legal and political relations. The people in tribal society are primarily hunt-gatherers and pastoral groups. When people started the practice of cultivation, crop growing, they were compelled to change their nomadic nature and forced to establish permanent settlements. Thus, the tribal society emerged or transformed into an agrarian society. With agrarian society began the domestication of plants and animals. These hunt-gatherers, pastoral groups and agrarians denote the people in the pre-industrial society. By mid-19th century a major change happened in industrial society, i.e. the intrusion of science and technology. It transformed the kinds of industries and the ways of production. Industrial revolution brought in major changes in societal structure, thus transforming the society into an industrial society. Some of these changes, which we can clearly notice, are as follows. Use of external energy resources to increase production and minimize human labor. Establishment of large industries and corporations. Mass production of goods. Change in economy. Divided and grouped by occupational subcultures, and emergence of capitalism and entrepreneurship. Introduction of science and technology paced up economic growth. Later, a culture of innovation took place, in the sense of how to use science and technology in more productive ways. Societies have increasingly realized the importance of information technologies, and their application in society led to the emergence of information society. Information society is seen as the successor of industrial society. The characteristic of new information society are seen in post-industrial societies. Of late, digital technology has become the backbone of information society. It focuses on the production of information and services. 3.5.2 Information societies. The credit for introducing the term information society goes to Fritz Muller. He was the first economist who treated knowledge as an economic resource. You know that information society consists of two words, information and society. Information is the key word in the present society. We all use information in our daily lives. Information is a collection of comprehensible data that can be used and communicated. The essence of this data is that there is a meaning for raw facts. Feather. Activity. Saul Jacob, 2009. A society that organizes itself around knowledge in the interest of social control and the management of innovation and change. Daniel Bell, 1973. A new type of society, where the possession of information, and not material wealth, is the driving force behind its transformation and development, and where human intellectual creativity flourishes. Yuneji Masuda, 1980. A society where information is used as an economic resource, the community harnesses, exploits it, and behind it all an industry develops, which produces the necessary information. Nick Moore, 1977. Nevertheless, there is no universally accepted definition of the term information. Societies. It depends upon the ways societies function fundamentally. It is based on the preconceptions of the area where changes in life happen. Some may focus on activities, others on society, knowledge, and resources. Currently, information society is used to describe socio-economic systems that exhibit high employment in information-related occupations and wide diffusion of information technologies. We can thus notice that there are 5 analytical criteria: technological, economic, occupational, spatial, and cultural, used to explain information societies. When we perceive through technological criterion, we can see that the birth of information society is signaled by the introduction of new technologies, such as cable and satellite television, computer technology, word processors, online information services and associated facilities. From economic criterion point of view, it is undisputed that the major part of economic activity in information society is done through information activity rather than subsistence, agriculture or industrial manufacture. While we take occupational criterion, the dominance of occupations is found in information work. Fact is that where information assumed prominence, there has been rise of service sector, followed by the decline of manual labor, leading to the increase of white-collar jobs. Such substantial increase in information works announced the coming of an information society. While viewing through spatial criterion, one will emphasize the information networks that connect different locations within a community, a town, a city, a region, or between them or across the entire world. We can see a wired society functioning to provide information to each home, workplace, educational institutions, and even to mobiles and laptops. Viewing from cultural criterion, each one of us experiences an increase in information. In the social circle, this criterion focuses on contemporary culture dominated by social media and exchange of messages and information. In our daily lives, information penetrates through television, video technologies, cable and satellite channels, computerized information services, and even on figure touch screens. Moreover, the ICT facilities laid the foundation for virtual life. Characteristics of information society. The above discussion enables us to identify the following as some of the important characteristics of information society. I. There is no geographic border for the flow of information, which is global in nature. E. Information society fosters openness, clarity, honesty, and precision about all information. E. In an information society, only competent, knowledgeable, and informed individuals can function effectively and also flourish faster. IV. A new environment based on rules and regulations is formed in an information society. V. Due to the free flow of information, there is equal opportunity for all citizens in an information society, and V. In an information society, individuals enjoy the right of access to information. The transition from information society to knowledge society brought in change from dependence on energy to a growing dependence on knowledge. Knowledge is important not only for economic growth but also for empowering all sectors of society. Let us discuss in detail the concept and features of knowledge society in the following subsection. 3.5.3 Knowledge societies. Towards the end of 1990s, the notion of knowledge society had emerged. Sometimes we may use information society and knowledge society as synonyms, but in reality there are subtle differences between the two. In the case of an information society, the emphasis is on the use of technology. It also places emphasis on the process of collecting, processing, and communicating the required information, whereas in knowledge society, the focus is on economic agents responsible for execution of work. Knowledge society goes beyond the economic dimension to include a social dimension also. Knowledge society is a society which is economically and culturally characterized by a degree of dependency on their ability to create scientific and technological knowledge. In knowledge society, knowledge is created by using the data processing technologies of the information society for economic competition among nations. A remarkable feature of knowledge society is knowledge development and its sharing that resulted in lifelong learning. It emphasizes the social, cultural, economic, political, and institutional transformation and a more pluralistic and developmental perspective. It tries to embrace all kinds of people, more so they ones who are excluded from the range of digital connection. Every individual in this society gets empowered with knowledge and thereby focus on the concept of inclusion. The notion of knowledge society as emphasized by UNESCO, 2005, recognizes the social tensions between different sections of the society when they attempt to access and use digital information. Some describe knowledge society as a society that develops new ideas, technologies, methods, and products that are crucial for prosperity. Knowledge society enables full participation of all in societal development. Its target is capacity building of all people belonging to all strata of society. The goal is to support sustainable development, gender equality, protection of rights of weaker nations and weaker sections of societies, by more equitable distribution of resources. Why do we need a knowledge society? Knowledge society is the order of the day, and forms integral component of social functioning at different levels and scales as given below. 1. Public sector, as a knowledge society, can play a major role in orienting the society to focus on information and knowledge, and it can be sustained by digital technologies. 2. Framing public policies is possible by knowledge societies only as they provide opportunities for innovation and evolve from technological progress to attain better social and digital inclusion. 3. Knowledge society leads to transformation of society through intensive use of digital technology that result in transparency, responsiveness, accountability and efficiency. 4. Involvement of government and non-governmental stakeholders is essential in building a knowledge society and in adapting them in different contexts, local, national and global. In view of the above, we can identify the prerequisites and features of a knowledge society as follows. Prerequisites of knowledge society. Following are the prerequisites of a knowledge society. A. Need to have mechanism that enables people to access the information. B. Availability of relevant information in the language and scripts understandable to the members of the society. C. Right to information, right to knowledge. Freedom of information collectively emphasizes the focus of knowledge society. Features of knowledge society. A knowledge society A. Uses knowledge as a main resource to overcome the barriers of digital, cognitive and language disunity of information society. B. Provides for appropriate mechanisms in place for creating new knowledge access. C. Ensures wider participation of all who are interested in equal access to knowledge. D. Knowledge is considered as a main factor not only for economic development but also for personal independence. A. Encourages development of critical and cognitive skills. F. Opens the way for humanization of global processes by breaking the barriers of all kinds within a society. G. Promotes predominance of informal communities. H. Facilitates prevalence of a global economy within the knowledge society. I. Uses ICT and network structure that is available for exchange of information. And J. Exhibits foresightedness in following a developmental direction, i.e. commitment to good quality and safety of life of its members. From all the above, we can categorically say that the knowledge society occupies significant place in promoting lifelong learning. 3.6 SUMMARY. In this unit, we have focused our discussion on how places and societies help individuals in their lifelong learning. Learning communities or societies are broader in context, which draw upon elements of different systems to facilitate or promote the individual's abilities for lifelong learning. We have discussed how learning societies such as industrial society, information society and knowledge society emerged and acted as agents of lifelong learning. You might have developed clear understanding of learning societies, regions and cities and how a region or a city transforms into a learning center. To sum up, learning society is a comprehensive concept that subsumes in it industrial society, information society and knowledge society. If a learning society is to be very effective, there should not be any barrier based on language and it should foster universal access to information, knowledge and narrow down the digital divide, especially in rural and remote areas. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.